Hello, everyone. I should probably introduce myself. My name is Jordan. I use they, them pronouns. I'm obviously a guest here on Cubic Cuties, and right now I am identifying as agender, so no gender for me. Anyways, I thought now would be a great time to address an issue that's been very relevant lately. Uh, so just yesterday, June 1st, Caitlyn Jenner released her new cover for Vanity Fair magazine, which has been a huge deal, and it's been bringing a lot of visibility for the trans community. I've been seeing a lot of people sharing it on social media, a lot of news outlets talking about it, and I think it's super great. And so I want to share a few things relating to that because it's been an awesome way for people to share information, but it's also bringing about a few problems that we need to discuss as a community. So obviously we're getting new ideas out there with this Vanity Fair interview. You know, a lot of people don't know a trans person, and this is kind of their opportunity to get to know one through Caitlyn Jenner. But you know, this isn't the only representation that we need as a community. You know, she's bringing a lot of awareness, and that's super awesome, but, we need intersectionality. We need to look at other parts of the trans community, people of color, people who are disabled, people who don't necessarily have the economic advantage that Caitlyn Jenner has. Uh, because as we all know, she's a very privileged white woman. Aside from the fact that she's transgender, she's white, she's upper class, she has a lot of money, and she's not disabled, she's, able-bodied, and so this really takes away from a lot of other discussions that we've been having in the trans community about intersectional things, uh, you know, and while this, a lot of attention has been given to Caitlyn Jenner, I've also seen a lot of articles, fortunately, talking about other issues in the trans community, real things that people are dealing with in other situations, people of color, a lot of the violence that's been going on with transgender women, especially transgender women of color, suicide rates, unemployment, poverty, those kind of things. So I think it's super great that these articles are touching on real transgender issues that we have rather than just Caitlyn Jenner's sensationalized life. But I think this is an amazing opportunity for the community to really speak out, and we should all work together to get our stories out there as well, so we can hear from people of color, people who are disabled or who are neurodivergent or not financially advantaged or upper class. This is a great time for us to lift up some trans people who haven't had the opportunity to share their stories with the public. You know, older trans people. I know that Caitlyn is, I think, around 65 years old, which is amazing that we're having somebody represent the community who isn't necessarily a millennial or under the age of 30 or 35. A lot of our trans representation is younger people and teenagers, but having an older person represent us is great. But I think one thing that we need to focus on a little bit more is the older trans activists, the ones who have been doing it for the past, several years, decades. There are transgender people who were in these Stonewall riots back in 1969 who have been working ever since then to make the world a better place for us and to bring rights for transgender people and visibility. And I think that we should give them an opportunity to share their stories, because there's not one trans narrative. There are so many different ways to be transgender, and there are so many stories out there, and I think, we should work to help these people rise up and share what it's been like to be transgender over the years, what it's been like as the non-binary community has kind of raised up and shared their stories and openly self-identified. And so, there are a lot of narratives out there, not just Caitlyn Jenner's, and I think that we should really look at more people who are different from her, who are in other situations, who didn't, transition overnight like she did. I think this also brings another issue with cisnormative beauty standards because everyone's been like, yes, girl, work it, you're so beautiful, and some of the more backhanded comments like, oh, she's prettier than me, wow. And it really brings up this whole idea that trans people have to look a certain way, have to pass to be beautiful or handsome or whatever label we want to slap onto ourselves. And, that's really not true. And that's something that a lot of the trans community has understood to be untrue. The real beauty is in being yourself and expressing your identity openly, which is such a courageous thing. And so, while there are a lot of people out there commenting about her appearance and how she looks like a cisgender woman, uh, we could turn a lot of the conversation towards why that can be an issue. And I know Laverne Cox has been doing a lot of work for the hashtag trans is beautiful to show that there are elements of being trans and self-identifying that are beautiful in themselves, and that's an idea that we should definitely be sharing with others who maybe are not as familiar with it. So, you know, as far as the representation that Caitlyn is bringing, she has a platform right now. She could be doing a lot of really great things for the trans community, talking about some issues that a lot of us are facing. And I've seen her do that a little bit in the interview that she had a couple of months ago. But uh, I heard from a news outlet, I don't know how reliable this is, that Caitlyn is going to be doing a series. I think it's like an 8-part series talking about her transition and showing some of the struggles that she went through, but also showing some other trans people. And so I think this, as much as we talk about how Caitlyn is privileged, white, upper class, Republican, which is not a huge thing in the trans community, she is putting in effort to bring other trans people's narratives out there and let them tell their stories as well. So, this is a great thing that is happening in the trans community right now. We're making a lot of progress. We're getting some representation there, and I think it's really heading in the right direction. And if we look at these issues and work together as a community to bring people to the forefront, I think this movement could be an amazing thing, and I think that we can make an incredible amount of progress if we all just work together to get some visibility out there. So thank you for listening, and if there are any people that you'd like to share their narratives or share your own stories, talk about your struggles, definitely, you know, tell me about that in the comments. I'm obviously not the best representative of the trans community myself, but if we have stories that we'd like to share, I definitely like you to discuss those in the comments, to talk about them, on Tumblr, Facebook, whatever. Just bring these issues out there and let these people be heard, because we're doing great things and we're sharing our stories and we're really changing the face of this movement. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.